voice of God calls us to awaken him. How will he find us when he comes?
Awake and ready.
And when he asks us to dedicate ourselves ever more perfectly to him, how will he find us?
Awake and ready.
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
friend, beloved God,
friend, beloved God,
great Master,
great Master,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
we humbly and lovingly invoke thy presence.
we humbly and lovingly invoke thy presence.
Bless us.
Bless us.
Help us to prepare our hearts
Help us to prepare our
for the
hearts
coming of the Christ consciousness,
for the coming of Christ consciousness,
your divine love,
your divine
your
love,
divine bliss,
your divine
right
bliss,
within our own soul,
Right within our own
and
soul.
make us your channels,
make us your
that we
channels,
may share your blessings
that we may share your
in
blessings
our daily life.
in our daily life.
Om. Peace.
Amen.
Good morning, friends. Please have a seat. We're going to start with some music.
listen to these words on our affirmation for this week, immortality. You are not your body. You are not your thoughts, your desires, your changing personality. Your body has a certain age, but you yourself have no age. Your body may tire or become unwell, but you yourself, the fatigueless soul, cannot tire, can never know disease. Tell yourself always, I am a child of eternity. Don't be identified with your outward form, nor with change, but live in timelessness. It is our identity with change that creates the illusion of passing time. Feel that through all outward changes, you, the immortal soul, remain the same. Death itself will be but one more change. Be not identified with it. Then when death comes, you shall rise in eternal freedom. And please affirm out loud with me in a strong voice, I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless.
I am ageless.
I am deathless.
I am deathless.
I am the changeless spirit.
I am the changeless spirit.
At the heart of all mutation.
At the heart of all mutation.
Now a little softer. I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless.
I am ageless.
I am deathless.
I am deathless.
I am the changeless spirit.
I am the changeless spirit.
At the heart of all mutation.
At the heart of all mutation.
And in a whisper, but with even deeper intensity, I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless. I am deathless. I am the changeless spirit. At the heart of all mutation. And now silently, broadcasting it from the spiritual eye, I am a child of eternity. I am ageless. I am deathless. I am the changeless spirit at the heart of all mutation. And pray silently with me. Wherever my body travels outwardly, let me feel thy changeless presence within. Wherever my thoughts take me, let them return always like prodigal children to find repose in thee. Om. Peace. Amen. Good morning, friends. Welcome to our Sunday service. Welcome to those joining online as well. My name is Dharmadevi, for those who might not know me, and this is my husband, Narayan. And this is from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ananda. What is it to fail spiritually? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The first passage is from the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 25. Jesus tells the parable of the 10 virgins, 5 of them wise and 5 foolish. They await their bridegroom, the Christ consciousness. The wise virgins keep the oil in their lamps, symbolic of their devotion, lit through the night. The foolish virgins placed no oil in their lamps. These foolish ones are like the average devotee going through the motions of outer ritual, but keeping no fire of love burning in the heart. When the bridegroom's coming is announced, the foolish virgins realize their mistake and hasten out to purchase oil. During their absence, the Christ consciousness comes and embraces those who have been awaiting him with devotion. The foolish ones, by their lackluster devotion, are not accepted by him. Watch, therefore, Jesus told his listeners, for you know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. In Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramhansa Yogananda describes the foolish virgin consciousness he encountered in the Mahamandal hermitage he stayed in as a young man in Benares. I was pleased, he wrote, that my new home possessed an attic where I managed to spend the dawn and morning hours. The ashram members, knowing little of meditation practices, thought I should employ my whole time in organizational duties. They gave me praise for my afternoon work in their office. "Don't try to catch God so soon." This ridicule accompanied one of my early departures toward the attic. Later, during meditation, I felt lifted as though bodily to a sphere uncircumscribed. "Thy Master cometh today." A divine womanly voice came from everywhere and nowhere. This supernal experience was pierced by a shout from a definite locale. A young priest nicknamed Habu was calling me from the downstairs kitchen. "Mukunda, enough of meditation. You are needed for an errand." The Divine Mother's words were not spoken for the benefit of that priest, the foolish virgin, but for Mukunda, the wise virgin. For this was the day his guru, Sri Yukteswar, came to him. Grieve not, friends, if you feel that you have been foolish. No error is forever. Someday, if you keep your lamp lit now, your opportunity will come. In the Bhagavad Gita, the 6th chapter, Krishna promises every devotee, Arjuna, none who works for self-redemption will ever meet an evil destiny. Spiritual failure, though a deep disappointment, is always temporary. Eternal hellfire is but a projection of vindictiveness in the human mind. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Good morning again, friends. I want to share from Whispers from Eternity. I offer thee a garland of devotion. With the dawn of thy coming, let the flowers of my devotion blossom in the garden of my heart. Let me weave a garland of them and lay it at thy feet. I had a really fun experience of this unabashed laying of a garland at the feet of the infinite through my nephew. He's 18 months old. His name's Henry. It's my brother's son. And while Dharmadevi and I were visiting them on the East Coast, it was such a, God speaks through the mouth of babes. So every time my brother would come downstairs and Henry would see him, Henry would say, "Daddy!" And he would go, "Henry!" And they just had this walkie-talkie back and forth, like, "Daddy!" Just he recognized his father, and Henry would say, my brother would say, "Henry." But they just had this this very simple, sweet connection. There's my daddy. In ancient Aramaic, I believe the word for God was Abba, which meant the informal daddy. And there's that chant of Masters, Search Him Out in Secret, where he talks about God. Without meditation mind, hither, thither wanderest thou. Thank you. That's the line I was looking for. It's adorable him. Think daddy. It's the adorable one, right? The beautiful, when you come in contact with God, when you see God, it's the adorable one. But the challenge that we have, of course, is like the Bible says too, well, no man hath seen God. Now, how do we see him? How do we find that adorable one? This is the purpose of this reading today with the wise in Foolish Versions. It comes at a very important time for us because this is calling to us to prepare for the coming of the Christ consciousness. And we can't, one of the things that we need to be on guard on is just going on autopilot, right? The Foolish Versions just become mechanical in their ritual and in their practices. But we have to keep our heart aflame. That's why I asked Dharmadevi to share that beautiful chant in the Valley of Sorrow that we sang. My heart's aflame, my soul's afire. For you, just you, Daddy, right? It's the adorable one. And it's holding that space in our heart so that God has the space to come to us. And how do we do that? Well, of course, meditation is the way, but it's not just, yes, it's the quality of our meditation, but I don't know about you, but if you've had some meditations that don't feel so quality, they don't feel so great. But this is why it's also important to hold the space, right? To have that daily practice, that's why Master said deeper, longer, thirsty, Guru-given meditation comes the celestial samadhi. We need that time. We need to have, this is where we have longer meditations, and I invite you all to come to the all-day meditation we're going to have. Because in those longer periods of meditation, then you can have the opportunity for grace to descend. It's like deep-sea fishing. You go out on the boat and you get some nibbles, and then boom, and then you feel like you got the big one and you're reeling them in, and you lost them. Well, it's having that time for God to come to us and creating that space in our heart for Him. But we miss the point of I don't know about you, but I miss the point quite a lot. Door of my heart, wilt thou come? I actually said, wilt thou? I put a T on the end. It's funny because Keisha reminded me of that. But I did that years ago. And when we go on autopilot, right, that's what happens. We don't think. And we just get into habit. Remember, in the battle of Kurukshetra, in the Mahabharata, habit sides with the lower tendencies. It's a subconscious force. We need to lift ourselves to the superconsciousness. So many times we do miss the point. It reminds me of a funny joke I heard. This man goes to the doctor and he says, "Doctor, I'm concerned about my height, not my weight." And the doctor says, "Well, how come?" "Well, according to my weight, I should be 7'8". So sometimes we miss the point. We place, this is what the Foolish Versions do. We place our emphasis over here, the senses, and we forget that it's the sixth sense, right? It's the sense of intuition. It's God contact. That's where God comes to us. That's how He descends to us. And so it's like, I was thinking of this analogy around meditation. It's like a geometric proof. I don't know. I used to love geometry in high school. I was one of those weird people. Maybe Colleen and I were two of those weird people, where you had to state your proof, and then you had to prove it. It was so simple, and it was like crystal clarity. It felt so good. You achieved something. I'm not sure how much I achieved, but anyway, I was thinking of that in relation to meditation. Is really what we're doing is now we're given this other proof. And it's, I am a divine being. I am immortal. I am a child of eternity. I am infinite. Now prove it. Right? But our variables that we're given is, you're given the body. You're given I like to think of it's the nickname for Sacramento. You're given a sack of potatoes. You just have this bag of bones and the five senses, and yet you have to prove that you are infinite, that you are a child of eternity. That's where the fire of meditation comes into play, that we bore through that delusion, quite literally. That's why the yogis talk about awakening the third eye, right? The Shiva eye, the spiritual eye, the Christ center, right? This is a universal thing. This is why yoga is for everyone. It is a universal experience that we have of awakening to that superconscious center. So we have to just continually just chip away back into the bliss of our being. I remember when Swamiji left the body. This is about 5 years ago. Dharmadevi and he was in Assisi when he left the body. And Dharmadevi and I went for the commemoration of his passing. It was a glorious occasion. Of course, there's the side of your heart that was sad to see your friend leave, but he was triumphant. And it was such a tangible, because who we are isn't the body and the personality, right? That's the proof that we're working on, that we're the soul. And when we went there to Assisi, you could feel this bliss around Swami's body and in the temple there. He was up on the dais, just up on the altar. It was just so informal. People would come up and just put rose petals on his body, and you felt such freedom, such bliss. I was like, that is who Swami is. Is that bliss. That is who we are, right? We're not all the other stuff, all the regrets, the worries, the anxieties, the fears, the preoccupations, all that garbage. That's not who we are. It's just like meditation. That's why Pong saw, right? Well, where was I, George? I don't know. I came back. I'm joking with George because I was supposed to be at the kirtan last night and my car battery died. Well, where did I go? I didn't make it. It's just like meditation. Where did we go? Well, I'm back. Hong saw. You just come back again and again. It's important to not buy into the negative tendencies, right? To just come back calmly and resolutely again and again. It's like that bumper sticker I saw one time that says, "Don't believe everything you think." Your mind is trying to play games with you. That's why we're attuning to the divine. That's why we're tuning to the guru, because he's saying, run this proof. Here it is. You're divine. I see you. Suryani, you're a being of light. Now back into that. Run that. But of course we're going to meet resistance. But remember, it's in that resistance. It's in the tumbler that the beautiful gems come out. It's the refinement process for our soul. And so this is one of the other keys, is taking a page out of Swamiji's book, and this advice he would give is, enjoy everything with the joy of God. Everything that comes to you can be enjoyed, because you're feeling that joy not from that thing without you, but from within. It's an inner joy. And so the more that we can just feel that, it was such a joyful experience. The tow man came, like 4 hours late, and he missed my car, and he got to the front of the street. What were the normal, God, these people that, can't they get it together? I had to just start running because he was going up the block, and so I'm running after him, and he was ahead of me. And I was like, hey! And I'm running, and I finally caught up to him. I knocked on his window. I was like, you're here for me. I said, you mind if I get in the truck and we'll go to the car? He's like, yeah. And he jumped my car, and he was a little bit cold at first, and then he started to warm up. And I said, oh, thank you so much, And he said, well, don't leave your car, because last time I jumped somebody's car and then they left. I said, don't leave the car. And I went upstairs, and I went, and it came back, and the car was gone. And so anyway, we just got to this whole conversation. He was a really nice guy, and as it turned out, it was just, I could enjoy that experience because it just came. That's what Divine Mother had in store. So this is one of the keys for us, is not to resist, right? Not to resent what life brings us. To get into that space of the adorable one within us. If we're resisting, we can't enjoy, right? And if we can't enjoy, then we're not in the bliss of our own being. There's this inner, like Dharmadevi was talking last week, there's that inner conflict. So work on that. And another important point is for us to enjoy everything with the joy of God, is to relax and allow our consciousness to expand. I was reminded of our friend Nayaswami Bharat. And when you see Bharat, he just has this blissful smile on his face, almost like perpetually. And he's enjoying, he wrote a book recently about, he's a naturalist, world famous naturalist, written Sharing Nature and many other books, but he wrote one recently called Play, that you're much more effective, right? You learn more when you play, you're more efficient. Americans, right, we pride ourselves on being efficient. Well, if you want to be more efficient, you should be more playful, right? Get into that childlike spirit, the bliss of your own being, the ever new joy of God that's within you, and prepare that way for Him. And the key, of course, the key to this with the virgins, this whole metaphor that Christ is giving us, this is the virgins represent our soul. And that the wick of the lamp is the heart. And the oil is that devotion. And so if we can keep ourselves receptive and open, it doesn't matter what all our past difficulties, all the, right, we feel like the karmic block, the cross that we're carrying, none of that matters. God doesn't care about that, right? I come back to that because the foolish versions here are the indifferent ones who just don't care. So it's something for us to battle is indifference, to just be open and receptive. Daddy, you are the adorable one. I am open to you. I am receptive to you. I call to you. I want to close with this story about receptivity. Ratnakar, who became the great Saint Valmiki. The Ratnakar was a robber, highway robber. He used to rob people and kill people. That's what he did for a living. And then he did it, and he did it well. People came and he took him out and took their money, and you know, we don't have to get into all his details. So then one day, a great saint was walking down the highway, and Ratnakar came to rob him, and he was going to kill him. And he just paused for a moment, and he saw something was different about this man. That he looked at him with eyes of calmness and eyes of grace. And the saint said, "You can kill me. You can take all I have. But you know that this will not make you happy." And just something about this man just stopped him in his tracks. He said, "You know that you're," and then when the saint realized he had a degree of receptivity and openness, he said, "You know that you're incurring bad karma for what you're doing, and this will be a perpetual cycle that will never bring you what you really want, which is the bliss of your own being." And Ratnakar said, "How do I find that, dear sir?" And he said, "You need to chant the name of God, Rama, Rama, Rama." And Ratnakar, his consciousness was so filthy, so low at that time period, he couldn't even say Rama. So he would, instead of Rama, it came out Mara, Mara. And Mara is death. So that was his god. And he just said Mara. And so he said, "Well, I can't say Rama, but I can say Mara." And the saint said, "Fine, then just keep repeating Mara." And he just, with this intensity, with this concentration, with this deep feeling, this openness, he chanted Mara. And it became Ram, 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 Ram. And with that chanting of the name of God, that transcendental vibration of the name of the Lord through Rama, it uplifted his consciousness, it changed his being. And this thief, this murderer, became Valmiki. And Valmiki wrote the Ramayana, one of the great Indian epics. Remember what Krishna tells us. Even the worst of sinners, by steadfast meditation, speedily comes to me. And even a little bit of this practice will free us from dire fears and colossal sufferings. So let us prepare our hearts for the coming of Christ. And all we have to do is just say, Daddy, I'm coming home. God bless you.